Hey friends, happy Monday. I have been thinking a lot about loss recently. This time in the holidays, if you're watching at a different time, this is December. And everyone's talking about, the joys and family, and this year, especially with not being able to see family, is very difficult for some people. But there's also a lot of loss. A lot of people tend to transition over in the holiday season and in the depths of winter in January. And so I kind of want to acknowledge that because I feel like loss comes in different packages, whether it's someone passing away, or it could be the unfulfillment of a life that was on its way, otherwise known as miscarriage. That happens and it's hard. And there's also loss like when we change and we shift. We might lose a relationship because the people grow apart. There's also loss in the sense of maybe a loved one changes who they are. They make choices and behaviors that fundamentally shift who they are. And they're not the same person. And so the what we need to do is grieve that loss. It's almost as though they die and they are still alive, but the shell on the outside is not who we remember them to be. And for choices unknown, but true to their path, that is a loss in a way. So grieving is incredibly important. It's a very important part of the healing process. So shoving those emotions down, never a good idea. So this week I'm going to talk a little bit about loss. So, there are these different styles of loss. Today I'm going to talk about the spiritual side of not why loss happens. That's kind of science, right? Like the body does give out at some point, although not always at the most obvious times. Like for instance, I just learned one of the oldest people who lived was a woman who lived to be 122. Why not? Anyway, today's going to be more about the spiritual insights from some of my spirit guides. And then the rest of this week, we'll talk about like how healing can come in different ways to help move us through the pains and the grieving process, but also just in general healing. Like, doesn't have to be just like one healing session. I'm done because I did this one kind. Sometimes it has to be different layers of different approaches. Okay. So, first thing that I have 3 spirit guides with me, and the first thing that they want us to remember is that karma and divine purpose and paths. Yes, we do have free will, but we do have a general trajectory that we go on in our lives. And so to remember that plays a part, even though our narratives as interconnections and loves, relationships want different things, the soul has its purpose. The soul has its path. We come here for a job, more or less. I'm whittling it down. And so this card came through. So she who rides the owl brings justice. So the beautiful thing about this card is it's a reminder that divine justice has its time. Karma has its time to be played out, fulfilled, and then released. And so when we lose someone, we have to trust, and it doesn't matter what religion you're in. I feel like this is really just a general thing that most people use to get through it. We just have to trust that what was meant to be is happening. So what's beautiful about this is that owl, that creature of the night, the part of, we are here in the light living, right? And then the people on the other side, we oftentimes see them in the shadow. And so here you have this white owl who flies through the night, this nocturnal creature, navigating it beautifully. So while there may be fulfilling that purpose or that part of their path in their moving into the next phase, transitioning over, it doesn't mean they're alone. And that's really important to remember. They're not alone. Another thing, 44, right? The angel, divine angel number, woman holding a heart. This one is coming straight from Gaia. She reminds us that we are not alone on this side. In fact, like I just jumped in there. In fact, it is with Mother Earth, and it is with our spirit guides and our animal guides that our heart is held. We may be retreated in, really dealing with some hard time, right? But the rest of the world continues. It continues to move. The sun rises and it falls, and it rises and falls. And our spirit guides, especially Gaia, is holding our heart, keeping us safe during our time of grief and our time of insular action and processing, to know that we are safe, okay? No matter how much sadness we may be in, we are still being held and we are safe. Okay. And my last one is, this one is less about that kind of holding each other and leading and trusting, and it's more about just the physical. Quite literally, the best way to handle with transition, right here you see this guy shrouded in darkness, transitioning, going over the waters, and this is kind of a very, you can see this in many spiritual paths, this idea of crossing the waters of the dead, going to the underworld. Here you see them, I shouldn't say assign a gender, they are going across the water, transitioning, and while that happens, we are here alone, maybe in the cold, kind of upset, but endurance is key. So while transition happens and it's hard, we just have to trust. We have to put one step in front of the other, one day at a time. Stop pushing ourselves to get through it. Stop telling ourselves that our feelings are unnecessary or silly, because they are not. And we need to just give ourselves some endurance. Feel the feelings. Walk the path one day at a time, one emotion at a time. 1 hour or one nap at a time, one self-indulgent snack at a time, one phone call from a friend who loves us at a time. Endurance. So trust that divine justice is happening. Trust in the fact that the soul's path is real, it is important, it is purposeful. Trust that the energy of those moving forward to the other side that we can't necessarily see every day, I mean, some people can, that's besides the point, getting off topic, that they are being held, and that we are being held by the living energies, by Mother Earth, by the nature, by the animals. We are being held in our time of grief, and that the only way out of it is to move through it. You can't avoid it, you can't ignore it. Move through it gently, slowly, and kindly. Okay. Have a great day.